Yeah, I'm losing my
Bond
edge.
trading in a small account, we have a lot of opinions about this. And this is something that I think is honestly pretty new to people in the last couple of years. Just interest rate trading or bond trading in general, ETFs like TLT or junk bond ETFs as well, gaining a lot of relevance for small traders. This used to be a market, an asset class in interest rates or bonds or whatever you want to call it, Michael, that was reserved for fund managers. And the only time that, a everyday person like you and me would think about bonds or interest rates, we're in like, oh, do I have a 70-30 fund or, a 60-40 fund? Or if I have a target date fund for 2040, how much is my bond allocation? And none of that stuff is intriguing. But the small exchange has brought you the first product that is really targeted for the small everyday trader in the interest rate world. That TLT and IEF and the corporate debt ETFs as well, they're all really confusing because you're trading this price, right, Michael? Like, if the asset class is called interest rates, why am I trading price? And this is where the revolutionary aspects of this market really kick in, right?
Yeah, I think certainly interest rates and bonds in general have been this like tantalizingly beautiful asset class that everyone wants to trade. But you don't want to trade it in a target date fund or like setting your stock bond allocation. It's not sexy at all. So surprisingly, actually, rates move around and they move around in relation to news, in relation to Fed activity. They often tend to be a leading indicator of where the economy or the stock market could go. But you have kind of these backward constructed funds that comprise thousands of CUSIPs that you're never going to investigate, but they also kind of mute each other and they don't move a whole lot.
Sure.
The cleanest way to do it is through rates, and finally you can with the S10Y, the yield future that I've been waiting for like my whole life, honestly. I'm so glad it's finally here.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, ever since he was, throwing snowballs around and sledding on cafeteria trays as a wee boy, he thought to himself, I really could do with an interest rate product that was made for the everyday investor. No, that's a little bit, a little hyperbolic, but this product is truly innovative. The first one that's priced in yield. You have an asset class that's called interest rates. This thing mimics the interest rate and not some price that is a function of the interest rate and the par value and the DV01 and the coupons. Get all of that junk out of here. Mm-hmm. We just want to worry about the interest rates, and you nailed it. They move around, Michael. Like, if you've ever heard anybody talk about, the Fed, if you've ever heard anybody talk about the Fed funds rate, if you've ever heard anybody even as simple as, I'm going to refinance my mortgage because interest rates are doing X, Y, and Z, that is exactly what we're talking about, moving around. It moves around on a day-to-day basis, on a yearly basis. I mean, in the last, I think it's, you want to call it the last year, maybe 14, 15 months, the 10-year yield has gone from 200 basis points to under 100. That's a 50% cut in this product that we're looking at here, S10Y. And you know why this is especially made for a small account, Michael? Exactly what I'm showing in front of you here, a product size that is under $1,000, an initial margin that's under $200. Go out there and find me any other futures products, let alone futures in the interest rate world, that have a margin that low, that are sized with that appropriate size for, ZB futures, almost $200,000 there. Okay. You've got the 2-year future in there, close to $300,000, like ridiculous size, ridiculous margin. It doesn't look like the interest rate that I'm looking at. Even the ETFs, Michael, you want to trade 100 shares of TLT, that's going to cost you like $4, $5, $6 grand. It's ridiculous. This thing is sized for the small trader as well, right?
Yeah, certainly. And, you talk about stocks and bonds being the two most notorious asset classes. Any Finance 101 class or investor knows this. Why is it so difficult to trade it? Well, finally, you can. The small size, I think, is super important, not just for new traders who want exposure to such a pertinent asset class like yields, but also for more experienced traders who are looking for something kind of in between, get the efficiency of the futures without a $200,000 ZB or bond exposure. Now you're putting up around $200 for the most active 10-year interest rate yield. It's moving about $50 a day too. So You're getting that extreme capital efficiency you see with futures without the exorbitant cost or exposure.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought up that word cost because that's a big thing, especially with the modern trader. A lot of people talk about, oh, well, at Robinhood, I can trade stocks for $0, or at this firm, I can do X, Y, and Z. A cost that goes under the radar. And it's because a lot of people aren't, and this, I'm not calling anyone dumb, but a lot of people don't have this financial education yet. A big cost is the margin rate that you're paying. And a lot of these firms, when you buy a share of TLT, oh, that's great. It's $0 to execute that trade. But guess what? You're getting margined at 50 or 100%. This product here is only margining you at about 10%, 20%. That's a cost that helps you out, helps you have money to go to different asset classes and different positions. And you know what's also great about this, and I want to talk to how this product moves in a second, but you bring up that zero cost. The small exchange for the next month is waiving exchange transaction fees. We don't charge market data fees, so a lot of the very well-founded negative comments that come at the futures world from stock traders, we're not even passing those along, because we are here for the small trader, the everyday trader. And so, it's a matter of reducing cost in that margin, Michael, and also reducing the cost of executing the trade because we're waiving those exchange transaction fees and market data fees as well. We aren't even charging that for any products currently.
Yeah, and many of our supporting brokers as well have decided to waive their commissions. So it truly is. There's a 2-cent regulatory fee, but other than that, there's
which we try to be in charge of as many things as possible, and we
I
unfortunately
salary to cover that 2-cent fee, but they're like, no, you can't do that. So. I mean, it's really pretty much never been cheaper to at least try interest rates or to try futures. So why not check it out?
Yeah, and absolutely. And getting off of that cost a little bit and talking about, how comfortable this trade is in a small account. These futures, another negative and once again, well-founded, rightfully placed criticism of futures trading is, oh, well, you want me to try interest rate futures? The ZB can move as much as $2,000-$3,000 a day. That ZN, or getting even smaller, still a few $100s per day. The largest move, Michael, in S10Y since it's been created here is just over $100 per day on average, moving about $30-$40 per day. It's I like that you said never been cheaper to try out interest rate markets here, and it's also never been smaller or easier to test it out. The thing that I always come back to is like if I'm at the ice cream parlor and I want to try out, this flavor and that flavor, you're giving me a small spoon, right? Like these traditional products, these products that aren't from the small exchange, it's like being like, oh, I want to try the Rocky Road and I want to try the chocolate peanut butter. And they're giving you a tub of it to try, and it's just too much here at $38 per day. It's something that I can feel comfortable with being like, all right, I'm just going to buy or sell one contract and see how it feels and how it moves. That's also part of the cost, also part of how we structured this for the small account.
Mm-hmm. And when you look at these average historical daily moves of about $38, compare that to your initial margin of like $180. Your return on capital there is just so much more efficient than you would get in a product like TLT, which is why some of those ETFs sometimes are just so expensive to trade. You may not think of it if the stock is, $100 or something, but you look at the movement, you compare your cost to the movement, that's where it really adds up. And it makes it difficult to scalp those things intraday or to hold them long-term. Futures really solve that issue.
Very valid point. And then just in closing here, we got to get out of here. This is also, if you were to buy or sell one contract for a whole year, a product that's moved, been cut in half, like we talked about, more than a 50% down move at one point here in 2020. And the high to low move, $1,300. Now, $1,300 is a large amount of money, but that is the high to low move in a futures contract. You'd be hard pressed to find any other futures contract that has that small of a high to low move over an annual basis. And now if you want to look into this product, go to smallexchange.com/brokers. You'll see the different brokerages that are offering this product. Currently, if your broker isn't on that list, please contact them and contact us about onboarding this product for you. You need futures permissioning as well to access this, because it is a futures product, but it is created for the small account. That's bond trading for a small account.